Hey guys, this is Calamity here with another short video. Well, I'll try to keep it short. And today we're talking about the next banner coming up this week. It's the Child Rerun banner as part of the first one in 2.2. And I'm just going to quickly go over each character in the banner. Just something for new players and maybe some old players coming back to that are wondering if if it's worth to pull on certain characters. If you're curious about them or you don't know enough about them, we're just going to quickly go over them. So the first one at the very top is Yanfei, and she is a main DPS Pyro character, Pyro Catalyst character, and she is actually a very solid DPS character. Now the reason why you probably don't see her a lot, or she's not popular in the quote-unquote meta, miHoYo has already released a lot of Pyro DPS characters like Diluc, Klee, and Hu Tao. There's already three really strong characters. Yoimiya is also another very strong Pyro character as well, and even she didn't do that well in terms of banner sales. So it's safe to say Pyro main DPS characters are very oversaturated in Genshin Impact. However, if you are a new player and you don't have a main DPS Pyro user, Yanfei is a very solid option, very easy to play, very easy to understand kit. She basically gets seals every time she does normal attacks. This increases her charge attack damage. So you build up to 3 seals. It's 4 if you have Constellation 6. And then you do a charge attack, and then you do a bunch of damage, hopefully, in that way. And rinse and repeat, that's basically her combo. And she's great because as a 4-star character, this means you have, you're more likely to Constellation 6 her compared to some of the other 5-star Pyro DPS characters. Moving on to Ningguang on the bottom right. Ningguang is actually one of the very few main DPS Geo characters. Much like Yanfei, she is also a Catalyst user. And don't underestimate her just because they're 4-star. Both of these characters that we've mentioned so far. I know a lot of gacha players from recent experience, or maybe played other gacha games. You might just be like, oh, 4 stars, whatever, and you only want the 5-star characters in Genshin Impact. That is not how this game works. Some of the best characters in this game are actually 4-star characters, believe it or not. And Ningguang is definitely no exception. She is a fantastic main DPS, can do tons of single target damage. There aren't a lot of Geo DPS characters, at least in the game right now. miHoYo just announced 2 new Geo characters coming in 2.3, so she might not be the only one, but for now, at the time of this recording, she's definitely one of the few Geo main DPS. Moving on to the next character is Chongyun. Chongyun is a character I used to use a lot when I first started playing, but I used him incorrectly. Chongyun, unlike the previous 2 characters we just talked about, he is a nuke support or a burst support. Basically, most of his damage comes from his burst, his elemental burst. You can use him as a main DPS if you want to, but I don't recommend it, and in fact his attack scalings are very low with normal attacks. Also, his skill is kind of weird, and it's one of the reasons why he doesn't work with a lot of team comps. But yeah, he's still a solid character if you want another cryo support. And then, of course, last but not least, the man of the hour, Childe, getting his 3rd banner appearance in Genshin Impact. Is he worth pulling? Absolutely, as a free-to-play player. He's one of the few Hydro main DPS characters. In fact, I think he's the only Hydro main DPS character. And he's capable of doing tons and tons of damage without having to heavily invest in his constellations, unlike someone, for example, let's say Raiden Shogun, who can do a crazy amount of damage with more constellations. With Childe, if you're missing out on his constellations, it's not like the craziest difference in the world. It's do all the content that you want him to do. In fact, I use Childe in the Spiral Abyss, and I'm constantly 36 starring it, and he helps out a lot. So, take that with a grain of salt. Even though he's a bow character, he is definitely more of a melee character, as you'll be using his dual water sword stance more often. He also has a scythe when he does his burst in melee form. Very, very fun character to play. Definitely one of the more unique characters in the game because he's the only one that uses like a dual wielding weapon. Even though he's a bow character, you won't be really using his bow attacks or his charge attacks very often. It's more like 90% melee and maybe like 10% bow stuff. Even if that, usually I just use his melee stuff and then swap. But he's a very good character. He's helped me so much along the way since I've been playing. Another thing about Yanfei, before I move on, that I forgot to mention is that, you know, with the next banner being Hu Tao, and of course, you know, popularity contest, Hu Tao is definitely way more popular than Yanfei. If you are more interested in her, then of course, you know, save your Primo Gems because her banner is coming up right after Child's, and her banner will also have the new character, Toma, in it. So if that's something you're considering, then perhaps this banner is just going to be something you skip. Okay, moving on to the weapon banners. We have the, I'm blocking the new sword, the Akumaru, and the Polar Star of Memory Dust. Now, both of these weapons, I will have like images of what their weapon skills on the screen. So the Polar Star weapon, we'll start with that, is the bow that's specifically designed for Child. I haven't really theory crafted who else this would be good for. It takes advantage of all of its attack boost buffs, but definitely Child because you swap to his elemental skill, and then you do normal and charge attacks while in his dual sword stance, and then his burst, of course, you do that, resulting in lots of damage boosts. So this is definitely a bow for him. Now, is this bow needed? Is this bow necessary? Absolutely not, because a lot of Child players have already been doing crazy numbers with bows that already exist in the game. For example, Rust is also a good one. Skyward Harp is another good bow for Child. The Thundering Pulse can be a good one as well. Amos Bow, Viridescent Hunt. I mean, there's a lot of weapons in the game that will work well with him already, and he's already doing great numbers with them. So yeah, is this bow like absolutely a must-have? No, but if you want to spoil your child, so to speak, and you want to give him one of his probably best weapons, then by all means the Polar Star is that weapon for him. Now we also have the Memory of Dust, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter shitting on this weapon. And it is not a bad weapon considering the two Catalyst users on this banner. The Memory of Dust is actually a really great weapon for both those characters. For Yanfei and for Ningguang. And the way the Memory of Dust works is that as you attack enemies with normal attacks, you will gain an attack buff, and it stacks. And basically, if you have a shield, this attack buff is increased by 100%, and this is all at Refinement 1. I'll probably have an image of the weapon effect on screen right now. But anyways, this is perfect for Ningguang, especially because of her Crystallize elemental reaction. Anytime she does a Geo skill or a Geo attack on any elemental infused enemy, like a slime, or if you have a sub DPS doing giving elemental status to your enemies, that way works too. You'll get these crystal shards, which are shields, and basically you'll have 100% uptime, well you should, of the Memory of Dust, which means you'll always have that increased attack boost. If you give this to Yanfei, you will have to give her a shield from other means, so Zhongli if you have him, Diona, Noelle, etc. Moving on to the 4-star weapons we see here. Rust, as I mentioned, is probably going to be like a nice runner-up weapon for those that get unlucky and pull like a Memory of Dust and you didn't get the Polar Star. Rust, again, solid weapon choice for Child. As well as a few other characters that you're just using their normal attacks. Like Yoimiya, for example. is a character that you just want to use her normal attacks and not her charged. But the other weapons have been in the game for a while, so we're just going to skip those for now. And we'll talk about the new one, the Akumaru, because this video is getting long, and yeah. The Akumaru is a new Claymore sword, and it increases elemental burst damage based on the elemental energy cost. So you can get some pretty big, hefty damage here. Now, obviously, the first person that comes to mind with this weapon is Chongyun, because we just got done talking about how his best, the way you play him is just to use his burst for nuke damage and then move on. So obviously this weapon probably gonna be a good option for him, but he already also has some good options out there for free-to-play players or people that have been having or that have had him for a while. Some that come to mind, if you buy the battle pass, Serpent Spine is always good. The previous event gave us a fish sword. That one's also good. The Favonius Greatsword. There's a bunch of 4-star claymores that'll work just fine for Chongyun. So that being said, that is pretty much going to be it for the quick banner review. Damn, I wasn't expecting this video to be that long. I tried to cover each character as quickly as I could and weapon, but this was supposed to be like a quick summary of the banner and, you know, some quick advice for new and old players returning to just help decide whether or not they wanted to pull on this banner. That is going to do it for this video. Sorry about it being so long. Hopefully it was helpful to somebody. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Like and subscribe if you thought this video helped you at all. And I'll see you guys in the next one.